doesn't allow the Draven to play aggressively and walk forward is going to be very tough. But, you know, I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, just blind first big Draven. Why not? Go aggressive here. And then we've got some absolute bruisers locked in on this side of IG with a Renekton for the top lane for YSKM. Taken away from Cube, as you were mentioning earlier. Cube, absolutely loving the Renekton recently. And then the Gragas as well. Gideon has played this once. I assume it will go into the jungle.
Gragas mid has also been seeing a bit of a time in the LCK. I believe it's the Roa build where he is just extremely tanky and also provides a lot of CC. I mean, paired with the Renekton, these mid-game skirmishes are going to look really chaotic for the side of IG.
You know what?
Nautilus getting paired with Draven, however, I mean, RA definitely going for a very strong side bot for this game one. That does kind of signify that Cube will play something more tanky and safe in lane, maybe something like the Sion perhaps. Yeah.
Cube playing Sion, this is unheard of. Locks in a tank is going to go back to the tried and true. One thing I just noticed as well, Dove actually has played a game of Renekton mid so far this split. Both of these picks for IG are actually flexes potentially. This, I would assume the Renektons for YSKM, but Dove has played one more game of Renekton than YSKM has this split. YSKM's never played it.
Yeah, this Renekton is going to be very interesting to say the least, as it is a debut for YSKM. But something else that is also available on the board is Annie. I think Annie in the LCK and LPL should be considered as pick or ban. So even if IG gets that into their pockets, that just means they have 3 champions that they can flex to wherever. So it's going to be really tough to make the call depending on which matchup is better, but IG is saving that counter spot specifically for mid lane, I would assume, because like you've been saying, this Sylas is a really good blind. However, if Sylas gets into a not ideal matchup, I mean, it just loses lane priority so easily.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. The Xayah coming on through in the end. And I'm curious on how this next phase of the draft is going to go. Like we said, there are some flexes in play. Like you mentioned, Annie still currently open, as we've got a jungler band and a support band, and it will be a second jungler taken off the board, which makes me think this Gragas will be going into the jungle for the side of IG, unless they have a pick in mind. Because, I mean, Vi is still wide open for that jungle, which, you know, pretty much everyone in the league loves to pick up, except for Gideon.
Except for Gideon, I mean, sometimes you just have to play the Vi. Everything's getting banned out already. I believe 5 junglers gone from the plates. I mean, it is going to be very tough to pick something else other than the Vi, especially when you have that lockdown paired with the Renekton. It'll be very ideal to have up against a Draven who doesn't have much mobility. But we see the Rakan getting taken off the boards, as Rakan Xayah is getting extremely popular in patch 13.4. I think specifically because of Xayah having a lot of good matchups now that some of the items have been changed, especially with Navori getting buffed. But Gwen gets locked in as a counter.
Okay, Gwen up in the top side, which means that Renekton is going to the mid lane. So very, very interesting draft here from IG. The flex is coming on through. It will be Dove taking Renekton mid as the Gwen goes into the hands of YSKM. Certainly a stylish champion for him. On the side of RA, though, that Vi we talked about locked in for Leyan. And we'll see where they go in the mid lane. Could be that Annie.
Come on, lock it in. Annie up against something that has so low range. I think this is going to be very ideal if RA does get this Annie secured. I mean, it does have good amounts of CC, especially with Sion and Vi being your top side with the Nautilus support, but it also does heavily depend on your Draven getting ahead, because he is quite literally the only damage source from RA.
Yeah, Annie will have a lot of burst damage, but you know, you're against a Gragas, you're against a Renekton, you're against a Braum. Like, how much are you really going to be able to burst people down? And even the Xayah can just jump into the air and dodge everything Annie has. So, might be a lot of pressure onto Sssum in this draft. But this is an interesting one. This is a wacky draft on both sides. Honestly, this is not the kind of draft we're used to seeing in the LPL, at least not regularly.
I like how a lot of these teams have been saving this counter spot for the red side, where it does get responded with a Braum, and that does stop a lot of RA's ability to engage. I mean,
level 1, and having the ability to go for your Q at level 1 with the stun, like, you don't have to stack it on Fountain anymore. It can be very, very cheeky. As we're heading on to Summoner's Rift, it's RA versus IG, and this is a series all about the standings. It's 9th place versus 11th as we get the Gyos in.
Just letting all the Jayos coming out from the fans as we see the classic level 1 spread from both teams. No level 1 shenanigans just quite yet, but when we do have something like the Braum versus Nautilus in this bottom lane matchup, I mean, there's going to be a lot of kills, or at least fighting to be happening. But the difference is I just have that cleanse available, so if he plays it smart and doesn't burn the cleanse for no reason, Draven's going to look pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. If he can find that lead, Xayah can struggle a little bit in the early game. If she takes too much damage, you know, if you get poked out a little bit by that Draven, if Draven finds that short range all in. But the thing is, if he plays it far enough back, he can just spam Q&E. Just keep on mashing those out at Sssum, and it becomes very, very difficult to stay in lane.
We already see Southwind just dominating the bush priority. Braum has to start the E, not even Q, so they are playing fully defensive. But after 3 levels, this bottom lane is going to get a lot easier. So you can't die level 2 spike from RA, because that's going to be very vulnerable for the bottom lane of IG.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. So let's talk early game. Let's talk jungle pathing, right? As we've got Gideon starting on his blue buff and moving up towards that top side. Leyan starting on the top side, moving towards the bottom lane. We could have opposite pressure from our junglers in the early game.
We do have the Nautilus also spotted on this ward specifically, so Gideon does know that there is a ward in the river. Wink is getting a little bit chunked out.
Wink is really low. One more auto, no! Gets the heal, flashes away, and Sssum's the one in trouble as Arm charges forward. Sssum has flash available, but just turns the damage around. Arm almost goes down himself.
That is the blood that we are talking about, and it happens exactly at 2 minutes. Both junglers are parting towards this bot lane. The red ward is going to expire very, very soon. We have the Vi approaching first, but this wave stay, I mean, IG, they are going to just freeze it here.
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen for now as Gideon goes for a bit of a invade off the back of that play in the bottom side. Start off these chickens. You see Leyan on his Crocs, doesn't know that the invade is happening. Keep your eyes on that ward as well, this next to chickens. The game sound is so loud in my ears, I can't even hear myself.
It's okay, because, you know, I can hear you fine, so hopefully we get that fixed very soon. Both junglers are going to meet in this jungle. The bottom scuttle is going to go in the hands of Gideon, however, but the mid-game aggression, the mid-jungle duo aggression, in this case, is going to happen very soon, as Gragas is going to try and challenge this topside scuttle.
Yeah, we're going to go for potentially a 2v2. Strive underneath the tower for the time being. But this is what you were talking about. Gideon and Dove working together with these bruises in the early game to force that 2v2, to force the advantage that they can find for themselves. They get the scuttle crab off the back of it.
Yeah, we also need to look at Dove's rune page, as he does have the Conqueror for this 2v2. So the Renekton up against something like the Annie Vi is just going to provide a lot more in terms of raw damage before Annie goes back and picks up her items. So this early game, I mean, you already see that Renekton is getting a lot of that lane priority.
Yeah, Renekton doing a decent job. I was expecting him to get poked out a little bit more, but so far he's having a whale of a time. Dove doing a good job there. And I'm keeping a weather eye on the CS numbers in that top lane. YSKM with the Gwen. It's a champion that, especially at level 6, you just get out of control. The true damage there can work exceptionally well against the Sion too, as YSKM will TP back into that top lane. We've got to keep our eyes on that matchup, because we are headed into solo kill territory once Gwen is level 6.
Most definitely. And talk about level 6, we have a lot of lockdown from the side of RA, as we have the Vi ultimate and Nautilus. So when they do try to look for these dragon skirmishes, I mean, with just the amount of pure lockdown, if Arm doesn't play with his ultimate carefully, it's going to be very easy to execute at least.
Bit of a trade down in the bottom side, but Wink blocking pretty much all of the damage that Sssum was trying to get out, and unable to trade it back. But look at this, Strive and Leyan both trying to move down. Spot on a ward. Gideon's in the area too. Will just be the dragon as the call for RA.
The wave was slowly building towards the side of IG, so they are currently pushed in as the Draven and Nautilus at least they secure that level 1. Ooh.
Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. Breed munch.
It's just too exciting. It's just too exciting. Whenever you see YSKM at the top side, I'm like constantly on edge that something is going to happen, that some kind of all-in is going to come out. And the all-in did come out. Won't be able to find the opportunity here. Southwind? Wasn't South under the tower? We'll be able to get the cannon for Sssum as well.
What's cursed about that top lane matchup is that YSKM has the lucidity boots and he already half health cube from just one combo, so that's just explaining how tough this top lane matchup is when you do blind the Sion. But Gideon end up looking for something on this bottom tower.
Yeah, Sssum very low, and this is not what you want when you're running a Draven composition. You want to be the ones putting the pressure on down at the bottom side, not the other way around.
Yeah, Annie's struggling to face check because you're up against something like the Renekton Gragas where once you burn the flash, I mean, you just don't have any escapability. Wake is, however, going to get cleared for the side of Dove. I mean, it does look like that Dove is putting in a lot of work to put in that pressure to the side lanes.
I'm loving watching Dove and Gideon, right? Just running around as a pair, basically, constantly working together. Leyan moving down to the bottom side, though. Wants a 2v3 with Sssum and Southwind, the anchor. Ever so slightly shy, though. And it will mean, I was going to say it'll mean nothing happens, but Leyan just walking straight into lane. He's going to help him shove this through.
Yeah, he did see the Gragas walking towards that top side, so this is a 3v2, and IG recognizes that as they defuse the play, but this level 6 spike on Leyan for this buy is going to be so important, as we already see that IG playing with their space perfectly, so it's going to be really hard to lock them down until you get that spike. I mean, Gideon's already level 6.
Yeah, Gideon, level 6. YSKM level 7 at this point, but Gideon not going to toy with the idea of a dive onto that Sion. Cube as well, having his own ultimate is... It's tough to kill a Sion at this point. It's tough to even close the gap on a Sion. Unless you come in from both ends of pincering in the dive, then maybe you can block that ultimate.
Most definitely, and Xayah is about to pick up her second plate in this bottom lane, and this is a blind Draven that we've seen from the side of RA. We haven't seen too much action other than the 2v2 at level 2, I believe, which is getting a little bit worrying because you are playing such an aggressive early game team composition where Gideon is going to respond with the Herald. But Leyan, you need to get some action going on for this Draven because he does have those stacks available.
He certainly does. And I feel like Leyan wants to. I feel like he's tried a couple of times, but it's never really quite come to fruition. And while he's down farming his crooks, the enemy team are doing the Herald. He's on a ward right now, doesn't realize. And the Herald will be basically taken for free. There's no answer on the map from RA unless Leyan can get into this bottom lane, but walking over that control ward, there's no way he should get away with this gank.
Yeah, I believe Gideon placed that team ward earlier as they were looking for the dive. It perfectly splits out Leyan as well, where another play diffused by the side of IG. I mean, this lane for the Xayah and Braum is going perfectly as the Draven's already down around 15 CS.
I feel like RA need to do something. I feel like they've just got lanes that are losing, a jungle matchup that is losing. I feel like everything is 10 CS up across the board, aside from maybe Southwind, Wink, sorry. God, it's weird
Wink.
seeing Wink as the support for IG and Southwind as the support for RA. Like, they used to be a duo. They used to both be on IG. It breaks my brain a little bit. I see Wink, and I assume I see Southwind as well next to it.
I mean, you do see Southwind and Wink in the bottom lane, just on opposing teams, but yeah, like this Herald does get dropped for the side of Art, and he picks up an extra 4 plates into his pockets. I mean, this Xayah is going to become a huge problem as you have so many short-range champions on the side of RA, so when it does come to these team fights, if Xayah gets too big, it's going to be really tough.
Almost 1,000 gold up individually in the AD carry role right now. Obviously, almost 30 CS up. Like you mentioned, 4 plates into the pocket. Like, everything looking fantastic for Arn. And on a carry that, realistically, you're more than happy for the game to go late when you're playing Xayah. You are very happy if it's a scaling game.
Yeah, most definitely, especially with the lethal tempo where you do have that extra range up against the rest of the team. I mean, if Arn plays it perfectly, I don't see how this Xayah is going to die in these team fights.
Yeah.
Dragon is spawning in 20, however, and these ultimates are all online.
Yeah, and I feel like this, it's weird to say it at 10 minutes, but I feel like we're already seeing a situation where RA have got to do something. They are slowly but surely bleeding out. The 2,000 gold down. Their composition is not a composition that scales particularly well. They're against this Xayah that they're not going to be able to kill in late game. Like, it's kind of now or never in my mind.
Oh, Gideon.
Yeah, now might be the answer as Gideon's caught out, flashed on by Leyan. On hits, try and answer the play. Goes on to Dove, but will be killed off. On getting the gold there, and crucially, both junglers down, so I'm not sure either team will do Dragon.
No team is going to do Dragon, but that kill going into Arn's hand is just going to make the gold difference even bigger in this bottom lane. But we do need to know that Arn no longer has those double summoners available, so if Ara is going to play around these summoner spells, could potentially mean a shutdown on Arn. But like you've been saying, this Gwen vs Sion matchup, I mean, even later into the game where Xayah is going to become a problem, I think this Gwen is going to become a bigger problem. Looking at this replay, Gideon just gets CC'd from the entirety of RA, burning everything onto him, but Arn flashing a little bit too late with the heal. Still gets the kill onto Leyan, however, because as a Vi, without the flash available, I mean, once you go in, you can't go out.
Yeah, once you're in, you're in. And, you know, Wink trying to do his best to protect Gideon there, but just not happening. Like, it's all melee damage. There's nothing he can block. And it will mean, though, IG, off the back of tempo, will grab themselves their first Drake of the game, which will make it 1-1 in Drakes in this one. So neither team going to be able to just rush that soul. And we're having a slow and steady pace to this one, Key. A nice, quiet start to the morning.
Very quiet start to the morning, but Arn is going to pick up his 5th plate in the game at 12 minutes. I was just taking a look at Sssum's stats on that Draven. It was 246, so he is desperately looking for that first kill into his pockets, which is going to be really tough because you do have a lot of other champions that are going to easily, you know, KS in those instances. So Ari has to play very carefully with this Draven as you want that kill and allow the Draven to cash in.
YSKM could be in trouble here. Strive moving over. Leyan playing around the blast cone, but YSKM, I think, realizing something, so gets the one play and gets out of dodge. Knows that he's got no teammates nearby. That's not a 1v1 that you want, Leyan. You're 2 levels down, and that's a Gwen. There's no way that that ends well for you.
Something, you know, at least he's trying because they do gain the top side vision for the river at least for now. However, Gideon picking up that Dark Harvest and also the Rift Maker in the hands of YSKM. Now they are coming online slowly. Arn also having that Gale Force available, although not having Flash, I mean, he just has that extra bit of mobility up against something that doesn't have Flash like Leyan and Strive for the next team fight.
Yeah. We could have it. It feels like both teams posturing for a team fight. Herald spawning in a minute. That could be the location for the next scrap. The recall's coming through just. Wink almost stopping one. But both Leyan and Southwind will get away. And it means it's an opportunity for Wink to get some vision control.
Wink pretty much gets rid of all the control that Art has just planted down. Missing that dot bush, which is still pretty important because you guys can still see the enemy team completing Herald. However, but this side lane, I mean, Sion is never going to be able to win against Gwen, so you're going to have to look for those 5v5s very soon.
Gideon has the sweeper available. Must obviously think that it's already been swept. But, like you say, it picks up rush there. Using the Feather Storm to keep himself alive. At least in the short term. Here's Leyan on the front line. Chased down. Knock-up comes out from Wink as Leyan is eviscerated by Dove. A great start to the fight for IG. And I think just a complete disengage from RA.
Yeah, and back to the point where Vi into something like the Xayah is going to be so extremely hard to play out. I mean, we already saw the instant ultimate from Arn diffuses Leyan's engage instantly, and just the amount of follow-up CC committed from the side of IG just meant this is a dead Vi and a Herald towards the side of IG.
I feel like as well, there just wasn't that much follow-up threat. Like, Leyan went in, forced Arn's ult. No one else threatened on the entire time. It was just the turnaround from IG at that point. Gideon will grab the Herald off the back of it. And it feels like this entire game, it's just been IG with a slight advantage. IG building those advantages. Like, even if Leyan gets the knock up there, there's not that much follow-up available from our end.
Yeah, you have an Essence Reaver Draven that doesn't do too much damage up against a level 11 Renekton. I mean, Dove TPs in, flashes, gets the job done, and he calls it a day with that kill going to his pockets.
You have to question kind of what's been happening with RA recently, because at the start of the split, RA genuinely had some really impressive games. Leyan was looking on form, like, felt like the solo laners were there to work with him. Cube had a pretty good start to the split. But the longer the split has gone on, I mean, they're on a 3-loss streak right now. it feels like they're consistently struggling to get these wins on the board. I mean, losing 2-1 to WE in week number 6, it feels like this is a team that is kind of scrambling around now. They've lost their identity to some extent.
Yeah, definitely see a lot of hesitation from the side of RA, especially for this game on draft. We already see a lot of easy engage. I mean, with the Annie and Vi Nautilus, sometimes you just get the pick and you just full send it. But we didn't see too much action in the early game. 3 kills at 16 minutes. Maybe it's something that is related to morale. Maybe it is the 3-game loss streak, or 3-series loss streak. But IG, they're looking very comfortable for game 1.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people are comparing this IG roster to that classic IG roster that went to the World Championship, you know, the world's winning IG where it was just lane kingdom permanently. And while this may not be a high kill game, I feel like this game still fits that category of just lane domination. CS leads in every single lane for IG. Just absolute domination there as Leyan goes in onto YSKM and it's 2v1, uses the needle work. Strive already down to half his HP just off of the ult alone, and YSKM walks away.
That was so unfortunate. Strive burns the flash, but he just wasn't in range to drop his tib as YSKM gets away with the ghost. They do secure this top lane tower. Never mind, that is the enemy Renekton. I mean, IG just diffusing every single play perfectly, where you already see RA's desperation, how they are burning everything towards a single play, but nothing's getting done.
I'm gonna be honest, this draft feels a bit unplayable for RA. Like, we've already talked about the Vi trying to get onto the Xayah, how difficult that's going to be, but like, no matter which target you pick, it's really hard to find a pick, and if you can't find a pick with this composition, what can you do?
Yeah, other than the Xayah, something else that is immune is this Gwen. You see Strive burning the flash right here, but it just wasn't enough as the Cloud follows up with YSKM and it dodges on the Q, and this is just really sad because Strive also gets slowed from the Gwen ultimate and there's no follow-up from RA.
Yeah, pretty unlucky timing there. That was exactly as the Shroud moved. Tried to flash into the circle to be able to get the stun, but dodged away from. Nicely done by YSKM, using that ghost to his advantage. But we're at almost a 5,000 gold lead at the 18-minute mark. Despite the lack of kills, it's just absolute lane dips with a 30 CS lead in that bottom lane, 30 CS lead in the mid lane, 30 CS lead up in the top lane as well. That's like everything pretty much going how IG would want it. And you mentioned in the draft the fact that actually this IG composition, they don't have to team fight. They can just 1-3-1 all day long with this Renekton and Gwen.
Most definitely IG on their comfort, which is a good IG and also a good start to their redemption arc after a few tough series. But we need to remind everyone that this is the 11th place team up against the 9th, and the only thing that is separating them is 1 win. But like you've been saying, Munch, we see a big difference for at least the early game and how IG is just looking a little bit more clean.
Yeah, a little bit. I'd say a lot more clean right now, based on what we're seeing. 3 minutes till the next strike, but Baron is up in 30 seconds. Honestly, with the lead that IG have been able to build up, the fact that you've got Nofori finished on your Xayah, maybe there's an angle where you could just brute force this Baron, force RA to fight you, because I don't think there's a world where RA could win the team fight right now. 2 items on the Gwen as well.
Here you see Southwind struggling to get any vision in this top side. Face checking is so incredibly scary for RA right now, as Baron is going to be spawning. If one person gets picked and that person is Leyan, I mean, IG just gets a free Baron at the 20-minute mark.
Yeah. And honestly, Xayah loves to fight a Baron. It's one of Xayah's favorite things to do. Like, when everyone's walking into you, you have time to just lay those feathers out, use your feather storm as well, and then pull all of them through the entire enemy team. I mean, the fight's over before it's even begun at that point. Duck trying to go for the Gromp here is Leyan threatening an all-in, will actually commit. Can they finish the Renekton off is the question. Nautilus comes out, a lot of damage there. Whirling Diffuse, which means Sssum gets his gold. Southwind in trouble here. Anchors comes back as he will be finished off in the end. YSKM 1v3. Looking for Sssum. CC'd up though. Transformed Sssum flashes out as well. YSKM still alive as Cube will fall. And IG, it's a close one, but they win the fight.
But Munch, the Draven cashed in. The 500 stack Draven cashed in. There is hope for RA in this game. Or however, all the ultimates being burnt on Dove just meant Arn got to do whatever he wanted in that team fight. I mean, Leyan is extremely low where he has to reset here, and IG knows that, and they start the Baron.
And they do this fast enough. TP comes on through. YSKM there with the tree damage. Baron is just getting annihilated. 6k. Strive is in the bottom lane. He TP'd to the bottom lane. RA had no idea that IG are even doing it. It's absolute daylight robbery.
Look, RA is just playing for the soul point denial, but we see this again. Leyan just commits everything onto Dove as the Annie follows up with that ultimate as well. Does get a really nice execution onto the Renekton where the gold goes into Assum's hands, but that just means everyone is so displaced, and we already see YSKM with the flank, and just the rest of IG comes in from the amount of time that you spent trying to kill Dove. But we did see a really nice cancel from Gideon in this specific team fight where the Sion didn't get a stun off, and it saves YSKM.
Oh, hook in the mid lane here. Southwind might have bitten off more than he can chew, though. As the rest of the squad comes on in, Gideon there. Southwind down as YSKM zones everyone else away. Sssum low from the needlework. Knockup comes out from Cube. There's Whirling Death as well, but I feel like RA are just out of damage.
Without your summoners available on this Draven, I mean, these team fights are going to be very vulnerable, and the third dragon looks like it's going to go into IG's hands once again. They just have complete control over these major objectives. Although the Draven cashed in with, I believe, 1,300 gold, picking up that BT, it's still not enough damage. You are up against something like the Renekton and Gragas, where even Braum can block half your damage, so it's going to be really tough trying to kill the front line at least.
Yeah, I mean, if Wink is there when you use Whirling Death, he can absolutely just block that ultimate outright, which is, like you say, a huge chunk of Draven's damage. And this is feeling desperate for RA, and once again we see a game where RA feeling like they're not exactly sure how they want to play this one out. Weren't proactive enough in the early game, didn't find themselves any leads, and now just don't have any way to play these team fights out. Southwind caught again. The anchor though. Dredge line
really
from Southwind to save the day.
But that doesn't mean too much as Arn is just crushing this bottom tier lane. But throwing it back to early game, I mean, I think IG played it perfectly. They diffused every single play that RA was looking for, and that's exactly what you want, where at the 23-minute mark, we only see one kill on this Draven, where he is not going to be able to do any damage at this time in this stage in the game. But RA still very desperate because you still have one chance. Hopefully, we're gonna see it soon.
Yeah, pressure towards this bot lane. Tower into hook onto Arm. That's huge. Featherstorm having to be used very early on here. The feathers can be pulled through the whole squad here. But Arn not doing it for now. Gets it onto Strive instead, but no follow-up there from the team. In the meantime, YSKM pressuring onto the top lane inhibitor. RA are gonna have to back away and concede this tier 2. But they might just be too late. Anyway, I think this inhib tower is just gone.
Yeah, this is the 1-3-1 comp that we want from IG, and they're executing it perfectly because this is what they're used to. We see the Sion not being able to group up with the side of RA, where they don't have much follow-up CC. We saw the flash being burnt from and also the ultimate, but what else are you gonna get? I mean, you lost your top tier tower, but these team fights, we aren't seeing too much proactiveness from RA.
Yeah, RA lacking that proactivity, and I feel like we're at the point in the game where they have lacked the proactivity, and now proactivity is out of their hands. Like, there's not a lot they can do. Even if they try and force a fight, they're gonna lose on the other side of the map because IG are playing this, as you say, 1-3-1 exceptionally well and putting the pressure on simultaneously, right? So if you go and try and punish YSKM, well, you're going to lose an inhib in the bottom side. Okay, you go and try and go for the all-in on Arn like we saw. Okay, YSKM takes the inhib tower of the top side. No matter what you do, you can't hold off the pressure. And I feel like for RA, you got to be looking towards the draft, got to be looking towards game 2 at this point, because unless, short of a miracle, I just don't see the way back in.
Definitely don't, especially if IG plays around the cooldown of Arn's ultimate. These team fights are just looking impossible to win. I mean, 3 items on the Xayah LDR as well. She's just going to shred through your front line. But this Draven isn't doing too much work for the side of RA, so it's definitely something to consider for game 2, as Xayah was the perfect answer into it.
It really was. And I'm just impressed by how disciplined IG have been today, right? Like, this composition was not a composition where you should be looking for really aggressive early. It's not like we saw Gideon going crazy, getting into the lanes and that. Mostly farming and like a bit of skirmishing with Dove. Like Dove doing a lot of moving to help Gideon in the jungle. But generally speaking, it was all about YSKM and Arn getting big CS leads and getting pressure, getting plates. And I feel like they have been extremely disciplined in doing that. And now we've got to the mid and late game. They're continuing to be disciplined. They're not overstepping. They're not just forcing fights for the sake of it because they're ahead. They are playing this slow and steady, using the 1-3-1. And I feel like this comes back to the fact that IG are looking for coaching for YSKM. They're looking for ways to become a better team, and you can see it in their gameplay.
Most definitely see YSKM's flexibility coming into this game one, but with your top lane and bottom lane being winning matchups, is exactly what you're looking for as IG, as RA slowly getting suffocated. Looking at the map, so you have no towers in this middle lane, and Dragon is going to be spawning in 40 seconds.
Yeah, Baron up in 15 as well, and absolutely no vision, complete darkness. It's like a Nocturnal over towards Baron right now.
Permanently.
Just permanent Nocturnal. As the Scryer's Bloom going to be used. Taken away though. Leyan moving in, a TP there. Wing just ever so slightly wide on the chair towards Leyan. That pick would have guaranteed Baron.
Even with... Let's just pretend Xayah isn't in this game. We still need to deal with a Gwen that is level 16 up against a level 13 Draven. So YSKM is able to get his hands onto the backline of RA. I mean, this Draven is just straight up dead. So you need a peel, and you also need to play for the pick.
Oh, I love this from IG though. They just send YSKM towards the Dragon. This will be soul for them, and with enough people here, they can deny a Baron answer from RA. RA have no way to deal with this. If they force the Baron, IG can still force the fight because they have a TP as well. Wink is here. YSKM on the Dragon right now. Q behind enemy lines. Dove the target. Has that dominance though, and just slices himself away. Knockup's coming on through. Gideon here. On has plenty of damage to win this fight on his own. Hook in onto the Raptors. Drive over the wall. It's a massive fight for RA. And IG, they've overdone it here. They thought that they could 4v5. They didn't need to start the fight. YSKM behind the enemy team without Arn. Can they win this one? Wink out of mana right now.
This is going to be a tough one, but look at the top lane minions. The inhib is already dead, so they have to do this fast.
4K on the Baron. YSKM desperately wants to get in. He's just zoned by Tibbers. Tibbers alone is keeping him away. And RA get a Baron that they had absolutely no right to.
And this was the one chance that I was talking about, Munch. A perfect stun onto the AD carry of IG, where Strive lands a beautiful Tibbers in that team fight and forces the 4v5, where IG was just playing out of, I don't know what they were trying to do here, and I guess trying to regain some vision onto this Baron. I mean, they aren't starting it, and your Gwen is doing that for Dragon Soul, so there's no need to overstep here, but Strive is just playing the perfect vision perfectly and gets a stun onto, I believe, 2 people or 3 with the Tibbers here, and it was beautiful as Arn gets one shot.
Beautifully done by RA to punish, but you have to question why IG are committing to the fight there. Like, all you have to do is be close enough to deny Baron. You don't need to 4v5 them. YSKM was overdoing the Dragon. Just wait until that's done and then commit to the fight. It's kind of funny, really, because I've just been complimenting IG's discipline, how they weren't overstepping, they weren't overdoing it, and then immediately they overdo it.
It wasn't even just that. Top lane inhib was also getting pressure from the minions.
Got an all-in coming through, but health bar's low here. Gideon trying to escape with his life saving for Wing, but his turnaround on, taken out underneath the tower. YSKM on the backside. Max range takes out the Draven. YSKM quadra kill on the Gwen.
YSKM proving that this tutorial from Zoom has been helping wonders, and he picks up his first 4 kills in the game. 4-0 now. I mean, this is just going to be an overall dub for IG in this game one.
Yeah, if there's one thing we weren't sure about for YSKM, it's can he annihilate players when he's got gold? The answer is absolutely yes. And I think Sssum feeling the brunt of that in that fight. The needlework just shredding him. IG won't be able to finish the game just yet, but Infernal Soul, 2 inhibs down. You've got to believe that they've got everything they need to polish this one off.
IG playing discipline once again, but this team fight was just RA desperately trying to get something onto IG as Arn already burns the ultimate, but Southwind gets one shot here where this is just the Nautilus pick at the 30-minute mark where everyone's just over-diving and completely forgot that YSKM exists in this game and he is so incredibly strong with that Inferno Soul buff as well. Draven just gets straight up killed as well where everyone just has too much damage on the side of IG.
Quadra kill for YSKM. And it's exactly what you said before, right? You've got On, he's this terrifying teamfight threat, but you've also got YSKM, and actually, apparently you've also got Dove, who did almost as much damage as YSKM in that fight. I'm kind of amazed how much damage both Gideon and Dove are doing there. But I guess they do have that Infernal Soul to bolster all of the damage that they have available. YSKM coming in on the flank, making the magic happen. And now with supers in top and mid lane, IG could slowly but surely crush RA out of this one.
Double stopwatches for IG for this last team fight as well. I mean, with Black, Ultimate, and stopwatch available, I don't see how this Xayah is going to die, especially with your minions also pressuring the base as Cube has to go respond to that. And that forces a 45 man. Sion's not going to be able to go up against the Gwen.
Again, actually just using his ult there very liberally. He's trying to deny and engage. Dove could be the target of an assault here with a stopwatch. He talked about it before. Coming in clutch to keep Dove alive. Deny Sssum the execute. And Sssum in all kinds of trouble. Aggressive featherstorm forwards. On making it look pretty as they end this one out. Cube tries to get out of bounds. Stunned up though. The feathers come on in. Can they finish him? Sion onto the bound will survive. But YSKM in the meantime getting a solo kill.
Taking this game one with only a little bit of a disturbance. That Baron throw is definitely going to get reviewed, but overall very clean stuff from the side of IG, and they definitely see themselves picking themselves back up from the ground as they look forward to that playoff spot.
Yeah, dejected faces on RA there, and I'm not surprised, right? After